Well, look what we have here. A gaming laptop that claims to be the most powerful thing since sliced bread. I mean, come on, how many times have we heard that line before? It's like the internet's version of a dog chasing its own tail. Today, we're diving into the world of the MSI Raider A18HX A9WX, or as I like to call it, the please take my money machine. I can already smell the hype wafting through the air. This thing probably has more RGB lights than my entire bog. But let's be real. Does it really deliver, or is it just another overhyped piece of tech that's all flash and no substance? I'll be here to dissect every claim with my trusty skull and a side of skepticism, so grab your snacks and prepare for some brutally honest commentary. And hey, if you enjoy watching me roll my eyes at the absurdity of it all, maybe consider subscribing, or don't. I'm not your mother. Let's get into this.
Don't be fooled by what you're seeing right now. The MSI Raider A18HX is not just another laptop. This thing has the power of a desktop PC inside of a, relatively large laptop shell.
So, we're cramming the power of a desktop into a laptop shell, huh? Sounds like a recipe for overheating and a backache. I can just picture it. You're lugging this beast around, and by the time you set it down, you're already sweating like a toad in a sauna. If it's so powerful, let's hope it doesn't turn into a portable furnace.
Could this on social media? This is not the first time you've seen this laptop, and it won't be the last. And to be clear, no, we didn't give the MSI Titan A18HX a fresh coat of paint, though this thing is big. This is the new revision of MSI's Raider lineup, and
the new revision of the Raider lineup, because nothing screams innovation like slapping a fresh label on the same old beast. I can already hear the marketing team patting themselves on the back for this one. If it's just a rehash, I hope they at least added some actual improvements. Or we're in for a long, disappointing ride.
Lineup, and sending us the MSI Raider A18HX so that we can talk about it today with you. Now let's get a picture of what we're looking at, starting with the physical dimensions. See, the new Raider measures in at just shy of 16 inches or 404 millimeters wide, a little over 12 inches or 308 millimeters deep, and about an inch and a quarter or about 32 millimeters tall. And it weighs nearly 8 pounds or 3.6 kilograms.
Nearly 8 pounds? That's not a laptop, that's a workout. You might as well throw in a gym membership with this thing. If I wanted to lift weights, I'd head to the forest and start hoisting logs. At this rate, you'll need a forklift just to carry it around.
So this is here. But let's be honest, when you're looking at a desktop replacement, being weight conscious should be kind of a low priority. As for the price though, it's almost as hefty as the weight.
The price tag, always the real kicker. If it's as hefty as the weight, I can only imagine it's going to cost an arm and a leg. You might need to take out a loan just to afford this beast. At this point, you'd better hope it comes with a butler to carry it for you.
For the model we have, we're looking at a price of around $5,100, which is a lot of money, but
$5,100? For that price, it better cook my breakfast and do my taxes. I mean, who do they think they're selling this to? Tech moguls or just folks with more money than sense? At this point, I'd expect it to come with a personal assistant to carry it around for me.
But what do you actually get for that money? For starters, you get the 16-core, 32-thread AMD Ryzen 9 9955HX3D for your CPU. And on top of that, this thing is equipped with AMD's second-generation 3D V cache. Moving on to the GPU, the new Raider uses NVIDIA's GeForce RTX 50 series mobile GPUs. This model we have equipped right here has the RTX 5090 mobile with 24 gigabytes of VRAM and a TGP of up to 175 watts. And this is using MSI's Overboost Ultra technology. Basically, this means that while using MSI's Extreme Performance Power Mode, users could see power delivery up to 175 watts on the GPU and up to 85 watts on the CPU under very heavy workloads. Now, to offset heat, MSI uses a network of 7 copper heat pipes paired with 2 fans for cooling. And because you can't have a system without a name, MSI calls it the Cooler Boost 5, which sounds like a high C flavor from a movie tie-in.
Cooler Boost 5 sounds like a marketing team trying to spice up a mundane cooling system. I half expect it to come with a side of nachos. If it can actually keep this beast from turning into a molten lava pit, then maybe it deserves the flashy name, but let's be real. If it's anything like my bog in summer, it's going to need all the help it can get.
So moving on to display, the Raider is using an 18-inch mini LED screen with a UHD Plus or 4K Plus resolution that has 120 Hz refresh rate. Now visuals are one thing, but what about the audio experience? Now for sound, MSI utilizes like a 6-speaker system controlled by SteelSeries software. Overall, the speaker can get pretty loud without distortion, but we did have to do a bit of tinkering in the software to tune it to our preferences. Let's talk about RAM. The Raider comes with 64 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM with speeds of 5600 megatransfers. The Raider's RAM is not soldered onto the motherboard. The upside here is that the RAM is user replaceable and
Now we're talking. User replaceable RAM is a breath of fresh air in a world where everything seems glued down tighter than a frog in a bog. It's nice to know you can upgrade without having to sacrifice your firstborn or send it back to the manufacturer. This is one feature that might actually justify the hefty price tag.
replaceable, and MSI says that the Raider can support up to 96 gigabytes worth of RAM inside of this chassis. Now, since we're talking about user upgradability, the Raider comes standard with a 2 terabyte NVMe SSD, but there is a second NVMe slot in case
A second NEM slot. Now we're cooking. That's like finding an extra fly in your soup. Only this time, it's a good thing. More storage means more room for all those games and videos that will probably never see the light of day if you're going to drop a fortune on this thing. At least you can load it up with everything you don't need.
NVMe slot in case you want to add more storage in the future. Now, as for connectivity, the Raider has 3 USB Type-A ports, 2 USB 4 Type-C ports with power delivery and DisplayPort out, HDMI 2.1, a full-size SD card reader, and a partridge in a pear tree. There's
A partridge in a pear tree. Now that's a feature I didn't see coming. If only it could also make me a cup of coffee. But seriously, with all these ports, it sounds like this laptop is ready to connect to just about anything, except maybe my sanity after spending this much on it.
Now for power, the Raider has a 99.9 watt-hour battery and a
99 9-watt-hour battery. That sounds impressive until you realize it's probably going to last about as long as a toad in a drought. With all that power packed into this machine, I can only imagine it'll be sucking juice faster than I can croak out complaints. If you're planning to game on the go, better have that charger handy.
and a 400 watt power adapter that really needs to be registered as a deadly weapon. That thing.
A 400 watt power adapter that needs to be registered as a deadly weapon. Now that's a statement. If it's that powerful, I half expect it to come with a warning label and a safety manual. Just imagine trying to carry that around. It's like lugging a small generator. If you're not careful, you might just power the whole neighborhood.
That thing it's so big. Now, as for battery life, we were only able to get
1 hour and 38 minutes of battery life. That's about as useful as a toad in a snowstorm. If you're planning to game on the go, you might as well just plug it in and call it a day. At this rate, you'll be tethered to a wall outlet more than a teenager to their phone charger.
to get an average mark. Now that we have a picture of the specs and features, let's look at some of the data, starting with gaming. Now, for reference, all the numbers we're about to show you were gathered using the highest available presets in-game at the native UHD Plus or 4K-ish resolution. In Shadow of the Tomb Raider, we saw an average of 194 frames per second. In
194 frames per second in Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Now that's impressive. If this laptop can handle that kind of performance, it might just be worth the price tag. You could practically play in slow motion and still look like a gaming god. Just don't forget to keep that power adapter handy. Because with numbers like that, you'll be draining the battery faster than a toad in a drought.
In Black Myth Wukong, we saw an average of 91 frames per second. In Forza Horizon 5, we saw an average of 178 frames per second. In Cyberpunk 2077, we saw an average of just under 172 frames per second. In Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, we saw averages just shy of 140 frames per second. Hogwarts Legacy averaged 155. In Starfield, we saw just below 187. In Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 at extreme settings, basically, you're gonna play campaign, we saw around 156 frames per second. And finally, in Star Wars Outlaws, we saw averages of around 102 frames per second. Now let's talk about multiplayer, because you care about the frames. In Marvel Rivals, we saw averages just shy of 176 frames per second. In Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, we saw averages of 130. And in Fortnite, the average we saw was just north of 301 frames per second. So
over 301 frames per second in Fortnite. Now that's a number that'll make any gamer's heart race. If this laptop can handle that kind of performance, you'll be gliding through matches like a pro. Just make sure you've got a good cooling system in place, or you might end up with a laptop that's hotter than a toad in a sauna.
So overall, the mobile RTX 5090 is not performing on the same level as the desktop version, and in some cases, especially in 4K, it's struggling to even keep up with the desktop version of the RTX 5080. And remember, we really aren't seeing the RTX 5080 as a 4K GPU when you think about those cinematic titles. We compare raw 4K data across 3 GPUs, the mobile RTX 5090 really kind of fell short. In Black Myth Wukong, the mobile 5090 did come close to the desktop 5090 while beating the 5080. Now in Hogwarts Legacy, the mobile 5090 does flex a bit, but in Forza and Cyberpunk 2077, the mobile 5090 really kind of falls off. Again, this is a really small sample set here, and we're looking at day one numbers for this laptop, and so there could be more to the story as we discover more down the road. Now moving on to applications, the Raider fared really well in Cinebench and Creator applications. Starting with Cinebench, the Raider gave us an average multi-core score that sandwiched it between, wait for it, the Intel Core i9 14900K and the Core Ultra 9 285K. Two very powerful desktop CPUs. What's wild here is that the Raider is achieving these scores at a fraction of the power. We're talking about 60% less power than its competition.
60 less power than its competition? Now that's impressive. If this laptop can deliver that kind of performance while sipping power like a toad at a cool pond, it might just be a game changer. You could save on your electricity bill while gaming. Now that's a win-win.
The
Well, here we are at the end of our little journey through marketing hype and overhyped tech dreams. We took a closer look at the MSI Raider A18 A9WX, the so-called most powerful gaming laptop ever reviewed, because who doesn't love a bit of hyperbole, served with a side of false hopes? From its inflatable weight that doubles as a workout to a price tag that could require a second mortgage, this contraption raised more questions than answers. Expecting desktop power in a portable package? Good luck unless you enjoy sweating buckets while lugging around a slab of metal that costs as much as my entire forest. There were moments of potential, like the user-replaceable RAM and some promising frame rates, which almost made me crack a smile almost. Now, did it meet my initial expectations? To put it bluntly, it surpassed them in a way that confirmed everything I suspected. It's a treadmill masquerading as a gaming laptop. Impressive performance on paper, a workout in reality. In conclusion, it's a mixed bag. Flashy features, potential for overheating, and a price point that's just absurd. So, unless you're sitting on a mountain of cash and enjoy playing an expensive game of guess how long the battery lasts, you might want to reconsider. And just like that, our time together comes to a close. If you enjoyed listening to my grumbles about this overpriced glorified desktop, you know the drill. Subscribe to my channel and like the video, or just keep trudging through life alone. Either way, thanks for joining me. Now go find a suitable place to joke about how ludicrous this all is, because I need to return to my bog before it stinks worse than that laptop smells of desperation.